In Galway at the time, where I grew up, there were no real rock bands. There were a few show bands, and there was a lot of folk music, a lot of traditional music. And most people I knew, rather than buying guitars, like bought bazookas and things like that, which I wasn't into, and it looked far too difficult anyway. And it was kind of strange because I was into like T-Rex, Slade, Bowie, things like that.
I was very much into American guitar bands, but also that would have been, when would that have been? 83. So there would also have been big Elvis Costello influence. I can't actually remember how we met up. I think I knew Stan, the other writer and guitarist, from hanging around bars in Dublin.
Stephen was a good deal younger than the rest of the band. I knew him from when he was about 15. He used to live in Lucan, but he used to sort of disappear off into town for the weekend and not go home. And he used to sleep on the floor of my then girlfriend's house.
I had absolutely no practical idea about, being a, if you like, professional musician, what the practicalities of it were. But for me, at that stage, and I suppose in that geographical location, if John Peel and the NME liked you, you'd arrived,
It was unheard of in those days. Most bands, it was very difficult to sort of get heard outside Dublin. People sort of planned for years, to go and play their debut gig in London and things like that. Sort of, there were stories in the hot press about people, photo shoots at the airport and things like that if a band ever went abroad.
A man without a shadow told a girl without a past that a gold would be his summer when all was overcast. The girl without a second thought told a man without a smile that a shadow would be his second skin when the first went out of style.
I worked hard on it. I mean, it took sort of 3 months from start to finish, which is a very long time. But I was very pleased with it when it was finished. And I think it still kind of stands up. It got really positive press. It was probably, in terms of our profile, it was probably the highest, our high point. And we were gigging a lot at the time, and we were getting a lot of attention from other companies, but nobody actually bit. But everyone came to see us a couple of times, and people paid for demos, and sort of waved enticing sums of money in front of us, and then took it away again. We sort of thought, okay, the next album will be the first of many, and we can start stretching out a bit after that. And we only ever got to make one more record, so that obviously didn't happen.
We weren't, great musicians by any means, but we had a very individual slant on our writing, certainly on our performing.
We realised we'd slipped a lot down the pecking order in a record company. You kind of know these things just from, it used to be you'd ring somebody and they'd ring back in 5 minutes, and then when it became 5 weeks, you sort of knew that, you weren't at the top of anyone's agenda anymore. We had a
kind of a vision of what we wanted to create, and I think we got quite close to it on a few occasions. Maybe my own criticism would be that we weren't, as dynamic as we might have been. But I think some of it still stands up. So,
kind of proud of us for being slightly ahead of our time, even if it was only 5 minutes. But